You're tired of working day in and day out, trying to find new customers, chasing leads, doing whatever work comes your way, and never getting to earn what you're worth. You do it because you love the work, and you're passionate about serving older customers and their families. We get it. What you need is more of the right customers for your business, and more income for you and your family, so you can grow and help more people in your community. Well, you're in the right place, because this is Booming Your Bottom Line.
Hi, this is Mark Hager, and you're listening to episode 74 of Booming Your Bottom Line. Today, we're bringing you a brand new owner's chat with our very special guest, Judy Ruff, CSA. Judy is the Senior Director of Strategic Alliances for the Society of Certified Senior Advisors. She develops mutually beneficial relationships with corporations, professional associations, nonprofit organizations, colleges, universities, gerontology programs, subject matter experts, and individuals. The goal is to increase awareness for the SCSA as a connector and supporter in the field of aging, to be a resource for valuable content and a hub of information and connections in the business of aging. Now, since 2011, Judy has held the Certified Senior Advisor dually accredited certification. There are 4,000 certifications in the United States across industries, and only 10% meet and maintain the demanding requirements to be in an accredited certification, but less than 1% are dually accredited. And CSA is one of the few who have been awarded dual accreditation. Now, Judy owned a senior move management and professional organizing business in Arizona for 7 years and a record and document management business. Both companies served a senior clientele. And Judy's other areas of expertise are in small business coaching, business best practices, strategic networking, network and resource development, in-depth vetting of professionals, speaking locally and nationally, and program and education development for professionals who serve the older adult market. And that was a mouthful. Judy, it's so good to talk with you. We're so excited to have you here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark and Aaron. I really am going to enjoy this.
Absolutely. Yeah, we know you're a busy gal. Thanks for taking some time with us today. So what we focus on for our listeners is giving them some great information about the aging and boomer market and your mission, your perspective, and your insight as a leader. So our show is strictly about helping the small business owner, providing insight and background. We want them to be inspired and learn from you as we chat here today. We're all about encouraging them in their pursuit of that small business dream while helping boomers and their caretakers and families in the year ahead. So, Judy, if you're ready, why don't we dive right in? And some people don't know you, so let's, at the 50,000-foot level, tell us about what you do. Not, bullet points like a resume job description, but what does developing mutually beneficial relationships mean?
Well, in order to get to that point, in order to develop those relationships, what I do is I really study the field of aging. I look at all industries in that field. So many business people stick to their specific niche or in their silo. But when you look across the board at all the industries, you really get insight into how knowledge about an industry that you're not in can affect you deeply. For instance, the Department of Labor just passed the fiduciary rule for financial advisors. But, this is something we all need to pay attention to. Are we putting the client first? Mm-hmm. Do we have fiduciary responsibility to that client? So, kind of getting that pulse of what's happening in the fields of aging across the board is really what I do, because I don't think you're very good at developing relationships if you don't get the whole picture.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely agree. Well, how did you get involved with the SCSA? I mean, what brought you to this point now?
Well, when you introduced me, you talked about the senior move management, professional organizing, and record and document business that I had. And I am such a believer in training. So when we trained our staff, I didn't feel it was enough to train in the niche. Mm-hmm. I felt that we had to deal with our clients holistically. And I really did search for what was out there, and I came across the Certified Senior Advisor training, which in essence, looking at the health, social, legal, financial, ethical issues that older adults face, it covered all of it. So there were four of us in my company that went through the program, and so I was just a CSA, just with everybody else who was. It was interesting that though we took the information back to the drawing board as far as my business plan went, and we actually revamped all of our processes,
Oh, wow.
and really becoming the key customer service deliverer in the Phoenix metropolitan area. So it benefited us tremendously. Things we would never have thought of, like when you're talking to an older adult, if hearing is lost, it's lost at higher octaves, so lower the register of your voice, not hello, that higher pitched sound. So from the tiniest things to the bigger concepts were really valuable. So when I actually moved from Arizona to Denver, and Denver is where the corporate headquarters is of the Society of Certified Senior Advisors, and I was running the back office of my Arizona business when I asked to do some volunteer opportunities with CSA, and I did, and before you knew it, I was offered a position there and have been there ever since.
Well, that's awesome. Before we get to the next question, you touched briefly on some of the things that you learned during the training. How comprehensive is the SCSA training?
It's huge. The difficult part of it for me, in terms of, think about algebra, right? You build on concepts, and you're going to take a test eventually on the building of that one particular area.
Oh, yeah.
The difficult part about the CSA is it is so comprehensive. There are 26 different chapters. All 26 in the textbook are different topics.
Mm-hmm.
So to learn all of those 26 and then be tested on it, I will say was challenging for me. But I did it, and I'm very happy that I did it. So it is all those little things that you will pick up that when you look at your business process, even the way the first phone call comes in and how you handle it, as simple as that, until you're executing a contract with someone. So if there is a sight issue or hearing issue or cognitive issue, what is your process that is in place for all of those situations?
Oh, yeah.
So, Aaron, you and I worked on that senior-friendly business checklist, looking at training, looking at environment, physical space, everything, dissecting it down to where if someone walks into your place of business, or if you don't have a place of business, but they're just interacting with you, they may never know why everything felt great and everything went so smoothly. But you paid attention to every detail so that they would feel that way. And you become very memorable.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that it makes you a specialist in aging, but your expertise stands in whatever your area is. You're not trying to be an expert in everything.
Right. There's a fine line there, right? You need to step outside silos and cross-educate, whether that's occupational therapists or physical therapists. Louis Tenenbaum talks about getting outside silos regularly,
right?
And that this does take a village professionally. And you're right. I don't want to install grab bars in a shower, but as a designer, I'll tell a contractor. I don't know if you know who Stephen Orfield is. He's studying autism and aging in buildings from an inclusivity perspective. And Stephen has proven in his labs in St. Louis that glare is 200 times more debilitating to a 90-year-old than a 20-year-old. Or he's proven that white vertical surfaces cause vertigo in Alzheimer's patients. So when I share those things with a contractor, then I can say to him, look, I know stuff you don't know, you know stuff I don't know. We need each other, okay? Mm-hmm. Don't cut me out. We're going to make a better team and a better product because good design disappears.
Yep.
So you're right. The user experience at the end of that is a function of how many pieces can we bring to the puzzle that are, professional brains at one table. So that's why, no ego here. I like to pull a big team together and make that a beautiful solution. So, Judy, what makes you motivated to stay involved? There are parts of this business that are not easy. What keeps you excited about continuing to serve older consumers?
Well, I think that, first of all, I'll talk about it's not excited, it's deeply annoyed. I hate ageism. I think that our society has had significant impact on racism, sexism, and other isms, but we have done a very poor job of really and truly making all of us as members of this society aware, have a deep understanding, and then working to change behavior. So that's the number one piece of it, I guess. But the other thing is that I feel when you look at the marketplace and you look at business owners, new businesses that are popping up, you look at the sharing in the gig economy and all the different things that are happening, how many are jumping on the bandwagon of the old boomer or older adult market strictly because of, oh wow, there's a lot of numbers and there's a business opportunity here. But they're going into it, like Aaron, you were just mentioning, you can't have the ego. You have to be a part of a team. You also have to have knowledge, as much knowledge as you could possibly have about the big picture, but remembering that you'll never have it all. And you do need that well-vetted team to work together to execute any work. And I think anyone operating, thinking that they're the be-all and end-all, is making a big mistake in business. So to become, what does get me excited is seeing people who truly want to be specialists in aging, but then have their expertise and their focus really going at high peak potential and working at that and developing it, always working at it, never looking at it as I'm done. Because I think that knowledge is perishable. We learn certain things, whether it's in college or in other ways, but not all of it stays constant. We see how fast the business environment's changing. So what's exciting to me is this learning about all the new industries, learning about what other people are doing and how you can unite together. And I just want to give you a personal thing that happened last night.
Yeah.
At the end of my workday, my mother, who's 93, called me, and she was in a lot of pain. She occasionally has gout, and it flares up, and it's incredibly painful for her. And it's due to a medication that she takes, that she has to take to stay alive, that gives her this problem. So she was really suffering. So because of my work, thank goodness, I called a company, Dispatch Health. It's a mobile app. They send, basically it's an emergency room mobile that comes to you. I didn't have to call an ambulance. I didn't have to bring my mom to the ER. They took care of the whole thing,
awesome.
Wrote the script. Everything was done. My mom never got out of her chair. So this is what's exciting, the excitement of learning from others, knowing what's new and out there that's going to make our lives better. So that's just one example that I had vetted them and, from a professional standpoint, and didn't necessarily know if I'd ever use them personally. And here it came in to benefit me personally as well as professionally.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, listen, we've got a theme going here today about the professional networking and vetting. That's one of the topics that you speak about regularly. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and why that's so important to you?
Well, I feel that when you start a business, one of the first things you have to do is purchase business liability insurance. And everybody recognizes it, does it, and that's just the way it's done. Yet, they will severely neglect their network, even the formation of it. They will proceed into business. I've met many business people who've done this. They go ahead into business and they have no team. They have nobody in place prior to opening their doors. And they may think, well, how do you do that until you have work? And the method that I use, and Mark, you and I will eventually be talking about, will really demonstrate how you can come to this prior to opening the doors of a business. But when you look at the importance of business liability, if you are not associating with the best, if you are not transparent about how you have vetted the people that you work with, that you recommend to others, whether it be other professionals or your clients, you're going to end up in trouble at some point.
Oh, yeah.
You're really looking at a disaster waiting to happen. And, but when you are forthcoming, and if you've shown you've done everything, because we're human, we will all make mistakes.
For sure.
But it's how we show up. How do we make sure that we've done everything possible so that if we do end up in court or in front of Adult Protective Services or anything that could potentially happen, how are we going to prove that we did our due diligence as best as possible, and then when something did go wrong, we ran to the problem, not from the problem?
Yeah.
And these are the kinds of people you want in your network as well, who will behave that way. And the only way you know that is by very deep vetting.
Yeah, no, good points. I can see multiple instances for me just this week as an architect where, this has come into play. One example is, I have to know 20 contractors, right? Because on any given project, 3 of them are available to bid the work and fit the client and fit the, scale of the job and the timeline. But I'll call them and say, before I introduce you by email, can you get to a site visit in the next 2 weeks? Because the minute I use your name, my name's attached to it.
Exactly.
As a reference, right? So I'm not going to recommend you if you turn around and provide them poor customer service out the door. I know you're busy. That's why I'm calling now. I don't want to put you on that list if you can't talk to them for 6 weeks. So, yeah, very valuable. And then on the flip side, too, Mark and I both, I think, have run across I'll get a lot of product folks contacting me asking if they can be advertisers on Empowering the Mature Mind or ADM Architecture on the website. And I say, I'd love the supplemental and passive income, but my fiduciary responsibility as a licensed architect well outweighs the $75 a month for a banner ad, because it wouldn't matter what the number was financially. I feel that would imply that I am leaning a certain way on product versus it being about the solution for the client, and therefore any implication of that is not worth any amount of extra money. So,
yeah, that guilt by association is a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's deserved or undeserved, it is a perception that people have. We see it in the media all the time. Right. So we need to be careful.
So can you give folks a quick example or a system that you use for vetting? I mean, obviously you and I know that networking and shaking hands and being, speaking in public or being in Rotary or joining a BNI, business, networking group, any of those are valuable. But how do you do the vetting part for those that might just be starting out right now?
Well, I'm going to be a little controversial here, Aaron.
Okay.
I actually don't feel that a lot of the traditional methods of networking work.
Okay.
I feel that the casual exchange of getting to know one another in a business setting, networking meetings, however we come into play with one another, is our traditional means of forming a network. But I can actually go into any city that I've never been in before in terms of doing business, and I can develop a very strong network probably within 3 months. Mm-hmm. And the process that I use, first of all, I develop a standard. So what is my standard? I will not accept anything lower than. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's different for each person. It's different for industries. There are, so many reasons why someone needs a higher level of checking and all of that. than others. I mean, just based on the type of work we do. So I set a standard, and then I will typically go to professional associations is where I'll start with. So I look at a job, I look at what association they're connected with. I get an understanding of the definition of the job. Then I look at what is the scope of work that is included in that field. From there, I look at what are the credentials. So is there a required certification or an unrequired certification? What does a certification mean in that category? Are they accredited or not? There are a lot of things called certifications, and they're not certifications. They're, just a mill of pay me the money and you get this, right?
Write a check piece of paper.
Yeah, right. When you know that there are there's rigor behind something, then you have that understanding. Are there certain levels of and I don't want to really be only focused on degrees and credentials, but there are other things like background checks, drug tests, fingerprinting. So many of us who work with older adults are exposed to a tremendous amount of identity theft nightmare information, whether it be Social Security information, medical information, you name it. I mean, it's out there. So how do we demonstrate as professionals that we've gone the extra mile, whether it's required or not, to have our backgrounds looked at? That's why I like holding the certification I do. I'm background checked every 3 years. But I can up that on my own. I can have myself background checked regularly or fingerprinted. And I did that for my staff. We were all background checked and drug tested every year. And I wanted to give myself peace of mind as the employer, and also the customer knowing we would be transparent about that. So anyway, I set this standard, I go through and I look, and then I start doing a search within the area. Who is it that's meeting my basic standard? And of course, you got to make sure that you meet your own standard.
Yep.
Yes, please.
That would be bad if you didn't. So then I start to find those individuals that are out there. But it doesn't stop there. I'm not making the claim just because they've done all of this that they're any good at what they do. So I call them, I go to their place of business, I start to get a sense of who they are, what they do. If it is at all possible, and I've done this many times, I actually hire them personally. I've had things built by handymen in my house I didn't necessarily need or whatever, but I had to know that if this was going to be a key person in my business, that they were, the real thing.
Oh, yeah.
So that isn't always possible, of course. So I literally Google the heck out of everybody, and I put every bad word I can think of, accused of, convicted of, bankruptcy, all of those things with their name to elevate it in the Google search. I'm looking for the bad, and I try in every way possible to eliminate that and then get to the meat of the relationship. Am I going to continue a relationship? And when I go to this person, I am never asking, will you refer me? Ever. I am coming from a place of giving, and I'm basically saying, you are outstanding in this area based on my vetting, and I vet better than anybody else. Mm-hmm. You rank so high, and I would like to have you as a resource in my network. Then I proceed to stay in touch with them multiple times throughout the year, never coming from a place of asking anything. Always, I met you, you were interested in this, I found an article, different reasons that make sense to connect with that individual. And that relationship and the growth of that relationship, yes, it is slower than you and I shaking hands, exchanging business cards, and me saying, oh, Aaron, I know somebody who needs an architect. Oh, go to Aaron. I didn't work with you. How do I know you're going to do well by my customer? Okay. So it takes time, but once you've got this network, there will be so loyal. I mean, and this is not, I'm not saying this in theory. This has been my whole career experience. incredibly loyal. You will be loyal to them. And in Arizona, the mover that I used most regularly was extraordinary. And he and I literally worked together. We completely revamped the moving system for moving older adults. Actually, it was a completely flipped and backwards. But we constantly worked together to modify and improve the system. And I'll never forget, something went wrong one time. Actually, it was 3 months later after a move occurred. A Murphy bed dislodged from the wall and injured a client. And this was frightening and terrifying for all of us. But my company and his company ran to the problem together. We solved everything. And despite the injury, that family was so pleased with what we did and how we did it. It wasn't truly anybody's fault based on what had happened, but nobody said that. Nobody took, pointed fingers. There was none of that. It was rushing to a problem as a team and solving it. Do you think if I didn't have that incredible foundation of a relationship with that particular vendor that would have happened? It's not likely that it would.
You'd all hide under your desk.
Our reputations. Because when something bad happens, which it always will, it's how you show up.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I think needs to be much stronger in business than it is today.
Totally agree with that. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about you for a second. Obviously you talk with a lot of people, you go to a lot of conferences, you have a lot of responsibility in your work. How do you invest in yourself? What have you done or do you do to help you be more effective or have a big an impact or whatever it is?
I listen. I listen very carefully. I read a lot. I actually have specific content curated to me every day. My morning starts with reviewing all the content that comes my way, that I custom design to do that. Which I love that I can do that, because you know how hard it is to just sift through everything.
Yeah.
But I have paid personally for business, sales, and a marketing coach. I love coaching. I do have a couple of mentors. I believe in that. I believe in mentoring and having a mentor, no matter how high in the sky you reach. I think we all need that.
Absolutely.
I do go to conferences. My certification requires that I have 30 credits per every 3 years, and so I'm always doing that. I minimally go to 2 programs a month, educational programs a month. I don't feel you can ever stop. This lifelong learning is not only beneficial to you personally and keeping your mind sharp and everything working, but it also is so beneficial to your business. And it's interesting because this particular business ends up being so beneficial to your friends and family. Like, I'm the resource in the country. Everybody calls me when they need a geriatric care manager, even if it's in another state and I don't know one, I'll find them one. So it's like funny how your knowledge will benefit others, and it's nice. It feels good to learn new things.
Very good. Yeah, and you're right. And correct me if I'm wrong, whether it's your mom or my grandpa, or it wouldn't matter. Those that I know that are happy and healthy past 85, my grandfather's 95, 96, are consummate learners.
That's right.
They never quit consuming information with the intention of getting better.
My father was 89 when he taught himself Excel. And I just loved that.
That's
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it. And that's the key. And you're right, Aaron. It is, when I was relocating a lot of seniors from their homes to independent assisted living memory care, the ones that I noticed that were aging successfully were so engaged in life as it is. And what's fascinating is, if you look at whether you're looking at business, and I really say this to the small business owner, If you have done everything the same way for 10 years, 20 years, something's wrong. Even if you think it's working, well, okay, I'm still getting business or whatever. But if you don't understand, maybe you're not going to tweet, but you better understand why that's important in business today. You have no idea, if you're rejecting that, the opportunities you're giving up of making connections with people in a way maybe you can on LinkedIn or other social media. There's so many things that you need to understand. And those who aren't those lifelong learners, who aren't keeping up with trends, who are not keeping pace with changes in business, are making a big mistake.
Very true. I mean, I taught my dad how to program a VCR, right? And now my kid's got to tell me how to use my phone. I mean, yeah, times change. We get that.
That's right.
So what's something exciting? What's coming up for you that, that's on the horizon that a small business owner should pay attention to?
Well, if you're in the field of boomers and aging, the most exciting thing I'm working on right now professionally is we do a conference every year, which that's no news, right? Companies do conferences, organizations do conferences. But this is so different, and we've actually combined, there's a movement called positive aging around the world. And there are quite a number of organizations in this positive aging realm. So we're combining our conferences. We're joining together. They actually have one day before us. We're doing a joint day, and then we have one day after them. But I am meeting people from all over the world, experts in aging that I never knew of before, perspectives that I never had before. It's just opened my eyes to so much. And the people who we have speaking, what I'm sad about is, how conferences work. You can't go to everything.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm sad about, is that I can't go to every one of these, because the enlightenment that's going to come from this is incredible. So I am super excited about that. But I think the other things that, when I look at the advancement of my own company, which is a small business, the Society of Certified Senior Advisors, and I look at things like, we've taught issues surrounding seniors before, but all along we've been asked about the things that you're trying to help with is, how do I make my business work? So this is now the area that, we're getting into, and we're trying to look at deeper and deeper and want to explore and make that a big part of the benefit to the people that hold our certification. Because the business of aging is very important. So in other words, if someone knows a particular area and they have not, so let's just say they're an insurance agent and they have not bothered to understand all the nuances of serving the older adult and how those businesses come together. I'll go back to even what we worked on, Aaron, was the checklist for, is somebody coming into their office and having to navigate stairs and a restroom that they can't even, feel they're safe in, or whatever that might be, are they really responding to the marketplace? So the more we can enlighten people, and I feel that there was that turning point where, okay, everybody wants to jump on the aging bandwagon in terms of business, but now a lot of them that are there are starting to say, wait a minute, I'm a fish out of water here. I don't know what I'm doing.
You know what's funny about that is that a couple of years ago, I saw all these little companies starting to pop up across the globe, really, but several here in the United States that were, we can help you make your business senior friendly, right? Where you get your little stickers for the window and, a little certificate because you went through this, hour video or whatever it was. And I looked into so many of those, and they were a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll tell you why. Because people got into it and realized that what they were learning was just scratching the surface, and that it was hard. It's not like you can just go, oh, I'm going to be friendly to seniors. Okay,
Right.
well, you're a nice guy. That's probably pretty easy for you.
Yeah.
But when you really start diving down into what does it take to be accommodated, right, for people who have either cognitive disabilities or just the normal aging stuff where
Yeah.
your hip hurts when you walk more than a half a block. I mean, how do you accommodate for those things? And people just realized it was hard.
Yeah,
So,
if you think you could describe inclusivity in 90 seconds, you're full of it.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
That's
there's
so
one
true.
other thing that I would like to bring up that's on the horizon for you and us, and that is in the very near future, Judy and Aaron and I are going to be doing a training to help people build their professional networks and learn how to vet the people that are in that network. And something we've been working on for a couple of months and talking about, and we're getting ready to put some serious effort into it. So in the not too distant future, we're going to have this course available for people. You can learn from one of the experts in the field of professional networking and vetting. It's going to be
Absolutely.
very, very exciting. So
Yeah,
there'll
I
be
know.
more
And
to
the
come on that.
exciting thing, too, will be that what we want everyone to get out of it is not only to know how to do it, but how to be transparent and demonstrate publicly via their online presence
Oh yeah.
that it's been done, how it's been done, and so they're demonstrating that transparency
Right.
that will set them apart from any competitor, because believe me, people are not doing this, or those who are not doing it well. So
Yeah.
this is a great opportunity to start to really serve the public better.
Well said. Well said. And I know, Mark and I have an ebook on networking that's on our website at bybllive.com, just as an entry point for some people that are just starting to learn. And if that's networking 101 and Mark and I can bring you to networking at a BA level, well, then Judy's our PhD and we're going to put all that together. So, yeah, that's why we elevate our game, right? We need mentors too. So,
right. And I got to tell you, I honestly believe, and I'm not just saying this because it's something that we're all doing together, but I think that this information, this course, can be a game changer for people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it
It
literally.
is, and I think that's why it's a passion of mine, because it is a game changer. I've seen it happen, and it's not difficult. Yes, it is time consuming in the beginning, but it is not a hurdle that can't be overcome.
Right. All right. So, why don't you tell us what's one piece of advice that you would give a small business owner serving older customers? What's the gold nugget from Judy?
I think I may have mentioned it earlier that knowledge is perishable, and you've got to stay on top of the current trends. You've got to know what's important to the clients, and they have to be looked at holistically.
Mm-hmm.
No person comes to you with one problem. They are a unique population of one, and they have to be treated that way.
Very true. We go through all this effort to talk about what they have in common right up to the user experience. And then you cannot reference them in a group of anything because they've redefined themselves every decade as individuals. And the minute you put them in a box, they're out of your box. They're out the door, right? I mean, yeah. So that's great advice. And again, guys, the people we know that are living 90 plus. My grandpa sold his Christmas tree farm at 87, remarried at 89, and learned how to paint. Okay? Those people are consummate learners. They never quit ingesting information. And by the way, my business model is based on being 30% not billable. Okay? My rates reflect that because I know I have continuing education time, I have networking time, I have lead generation time. If you don't build your business with a model that says, don't forget to keep learning, something's going to get lost in the shuffle and you'll become one of those flashes in the pan Mark was talking about.
Aaron, that's one of the best things I've ever heard. That really, though, I don't think people think about that, setting aside that block. And that's important in a model. And I'm glad I just learned something new.
Oh. Very cool. Well, you have been an absolute pleasure to have here today, and I really do appreciate your time. and your leadership, your willingness to step forward and be a voice for positive change in the lives of business owners and older Americans and everybody we serve every day. So before we get out of here, Judy, please do tell everyone how to get a hold of you, phone numbers, websites, whatever you want to share.
Sure. You can email me, very simple email, Judy, Judyr, at CSA.us, or you can call me directly at 303-951-6571.
Beautiful. Well, what a great show today. We hope you enjoyed hearing from Judy today and that you're leaving with some things to think about. You guys, you got some incredible information today that can help you continue building your business and growing your referral network the right way, a lasting way. And this is some really good stuff from another industry leader at the top of her game and known at a national level. So take it to heart, okay? Mull it over, do ingest it, become that consummate learner, and act on it. Implement this stuff, okay? If you need help, we're all here for you. Thanks for listening. Until next time, be well, be bold, and boom your bottom line.